Hello and welcome to the final Vasas episode of the night. I just couldn't leave it there at the end of last season. The guys need me. It's massive adversity, isn't it? But I couldn't just walk away from tripping up final hurdle in the Champions League. We had to think about the positives, what we could do in the future, even with such a small budget, such limited resources. We probably had to sell a big player, and that's been the case. To try and find that glimmer of hope in the distance that things are going to get better. We are going to have squad depth eventually, and we are going to be the best team in the world. I think there's been a lot of foundations set this year. I'm not saying that we're going to win the Champions League this year. Far from it. I don't think that's going to be the case. But I think this group of players, there's going to be a Champions League win. We've just signed up some decent ones that will give us that depth that we were so needing at the end of that season. Like, there were players on there, like, dead on their feet at the end of that Champions League game. Right, you might have found it, you might have seen it in the end of last season, that we had a decent balance. We didn't have a decent transfer budget. It's saying that the original transfer budget here was 106 million. No way it wasn't. It was about 60. It was about 60. We blew about half of it on that midfielder from Barcelona. But finally, the overall balance went up and up and up through sales. It finally trickled through to the wage, and we were able to spend bigger than what we initially thought. I tried to ask for increased transfer budget. It wasn't happening. But amazingly, even though we've spent big as well as sold big, we've still got £46.1 million in the transfer budget. So it's either a big signing or little ones. And I think it'll be more little ones just to try and flesh out the side even more. Because we have done some big hitting signings this time around. Right then. Ready to go. This is going to have to be quick fire because we have done so much. That is scouting, Curtis. That is not where we want to be going. Transfer history. There we go. Yep. I just tried to record this and I was an absolute mess because it's so late and I was so tired. I decided to give it another go. Here we are. Right. We sold 286 mil. Sorry, we spent 286 million. We sold 173 million. I'm still going to stick with what I said in January, last window. I'm going to go for the ins first. We're going to talk about the signings first. So, Nicola Prelich, a goalkeeper coming out from Dynamo Zagreb. Nice scouting, really, with a maximum potential. That was under $1 million. So is this guy, Tofik Johari, 5-star potential. Central midfielder. Could be a good centre midfielder in the future. Raffaele Fiaschi. Juventus like to sell their players for really, really cheap, don't they? This one's under 5 million, but there was a part exchange of a D. Fernandez. I think he was hanging around the under 20s. Yeah, this guy dropped off the max potential, so I was willing to take that risk. Patrick Wagner. I have no idea why Bayern Munich were willing to part with this guy for less than £10 million unless we know something that... Sorry, they knew something that we currently don't. Looks like a decent signing, even if he doesn't turn out to be exactly what we wish for in a right-back. It's a drop in the ocean in comparison to some of the other signings that we've made. We're not going to feel it that much. His wheel is great already. I am tired. Oh my goodness. Let's crack on. Jon Brechtbul. This is a player that we wanted to get in January, last window. Young boys wanted £30 million for him, something crazy. I was pushing, I finally stopped pursuing the guy at about 23 million. We go into summer. I'm back interested in the player. It's set at 23 million because I know that was my last offer from him. I was like, okay, we'll start just reeling it back. No doubt younger boys will ask for something astronomically high, and then we'll have a middle ground. So I say 15 million, and they just straight up accept. And I'm like, probably could have saved some money there. So it was a slight mistake, but I'm kind of happy that I've got him in because he looks all right. Yeah, that's that. I was not gonna think about it that much because even though it was maybe say could have got him for 10 million, it's 5 million. They're not going to sell him for less than 10 million, I don't think. So we're talking about a 5 million range. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. We had bigger fish to fry through the summer. There was way more significant things to be done, including a bigger centre-back that we'll talk about in a second. Now we're getting into the more ridiculous money. Daniel Pais. This would be a really significant investment. Anything other than this season, 29.5 million. You see, he's raw. This is a raw player right here. Gordon Ramsay would hate it. We're going to try and make him a left winger. See how that goes. 29.5 million. We've seen Marcelo Gonçalves before, and I think this guy is going to be a wonder kid. I think this guy is going to be something very special indeed. And I'll show you why, because in the first Champions League game that we had, Hertha Berlin, we drew 1-1 away from home, and Gonçalves came on for the incredibly tired Takachuk. I'm going to call him Takachuk from now on. And not only did he put us in front in this match, but he put us in front with some style. Stats line, we were all over these guys, and we should have won and topped the group by the end of it, because somehow Rangers drew with Real Madrid in the other game in the first match day. So everything's really, really even so far, but you'd expect Real Madrid Vasas to get qualified eventually. We've got Real Madrid, obviously. I usually play the bigger team in the group for this group stage game. But yeah, what a game. What a goal for Gonçalves. I think he dropped like 7.2 match rating at the end of it. Solid. 37 million for Pedro Guerrero. I really didn't finish with this. Yeah, just keep an eye on him. I think he's going to be really special. I really do want him to turn into a striker, but there's of course that backup of centre mid, but the centre mid role, it's going to be a lot harder for him to really push for the centre mids first team, because we've got some really good centre mids now. Weird how that's all changed, because centre mids a few years back was definitely our weakest position, but usually when we have weaker positions, we then invest a ton of money into the weaker positions. All of a sudden they become the strongest. I think centre mids are now our strongest position. It's, you could make an argument for striker, I guess. Like, if we're talking about just current ability, maybe. I actually forgot the name of our fucking forward. Unbelievable. Sepulveda, that's it. You could say that Sepulveda is probably our best player. But outside of that, Alexander, yeah. This guy could be in it. This guy could be knocking at the door. Anyway, right, okay. I've got to start rushing. Like, I'm sure, yeah, it's nearly 10 minutes gone already in the video, and I'm still on the ins. We have not even got into the game. So Pedro Guerrero, he was signed up for a pretty significant fee, yeah, £37 million, and he's not a fullback that I'd want personally. I'd like a left-footed player and left back, but you know what we've been looking for. significant investment in the left backs. I'm sure that we'll have really good left backs now that was our weakest position, because we've signed players like Pedro Guerrero to fill that hole. And if he does fill the hole, I'll kind of just ignore the fact that he is right-footed. No, I'd like for him to be left-footed. Cool. Next one. This is where we get really serious. Adrian Kopachi, Eastern European. We'll talk about these in a second. Eastern European, Bayern Munich, attacking midfielder, training up to be a left winger. Yeah. Definitely going to do it. Has all the makings of a terrific left winger there. £47.5 million. I think that was his release clause. No, Kopachi's with the release clause. Wozniak had about an 80 million release clause, but they were happy to part with him for 55 million. Wozniak, also an Eastern European. The reason why I talk about these is these didn't really want to come at the start, even though we got into the Champions League final. But a little bit of talking of the media, a bit of coaxing, I think that's the right word. They started to warm up to the idea and we finally got him in. Even though, like, you can see here, Wozniak, £55,000. That is a lot of wages to be given away to a 20-year-old, especially if you're a Hungarian team. Maybe in the Premier League, it's kind of normalised. But we did need a striker. He's not as developed as Isella at this stage. We were looking at some person to kind of replicate Isella. I know Saavedra is going to be like immense, and he might just need a partner in crime. He might be the main guy around here. But yeah, I kind of recognised that that's where Rupel Boom took the next step when we signed Isella. We felt we looked like a better club when we signed someone like that. I'm not expecting it of Wozniak. I'm hoping that signings like this will take us to the next step. It's probably the best way of saying it. Isella was a lot more money. To be fair, it was like 70, 80 million pounds. So it's not that much pressure, okay? And then Saib Kramer. This guy had to be top transfer. Talk about. Eventually, we missed the deadline to register these two to the Champions League, but eventually we got through. We got through to him, and he was like, fine, I'll join your club. I mean, it's not like Club Brugge are not going to get into the Champions League. Obviously, you might get to a bigger European club that has a nicer city, maybe in Western Europe, but we could do that for you right now, lad. £56 million, right winger, 19 years old, great wheel, solid. How did we get that money? Well, we had a bloated wage budget, which we were talking about. I think that at one point in the summer, the available wage budget was over £1 million, which I think that resulted in about another £80 million of the transfer budget. I don't know. Basically, when I sold Sukhanov at £85 million to the new European champions, I was like, oh, good. I could get a decent replacement and maybe a couple of like smaller purchases. What eventually happened with the fact that we were just kind of flooding this money into our wage budget is that we just got 3 really big signings. So in hindsight, this was totally worth it. Selling Sukhanov to get them 3 players was totally worth it. In my eyes, Sukhanov, he probably will get better for sure, but he was reaching that kind of ceiling that they all have. Not 5-star potential anymore. He's 4-star, I think. And Dortmund were absolutely adamant to have him. Take him. At 85 million, I think I agreed at 60 to start off with. And then I was like, I'm not going to get a decent replacement for 60 million, even though it turned out that we were, albeit like we've had to train him up to that position. I'm not going to get a decent, a decent replacement. So let's keep on pushing. This took all summer. You can see 31st. This was like the last day to get it through. And it was an entire month after we found that replacement. So at the start, when Sukhanov was first like touted to Dortmund, we hadn't got a replacement. We found the replacement. We bought the replacement, and he was still at the club. And we were still negotiating with Dortmund. We accepted 60, then we rejected it. Dortmund came back in, finally 85, accepted, sorted. Good luck to him, I guess. We still got a Shakhtar player. Big profits on that, by the way. 28 million. I find it hilarious. Dortmund and Chelsea wanted to purchase him for way less than what we'd bought him for. At the start, of course, like May time, I don't know. Yeah, good luck to him. Hopefully, they don't win another Champions League, because it probably would be at our expense again. Mauro Sand goes to Boca Juniors. This was pre-planned. We'd have talked about it beforehand. Yeah. He was probably good enough to win Champions League, and I'm sure that he'll eventually get back into European football. But we had players that will be eventually better than him at right back. And I ain't going to stand in their way, especially when 25 million's on the table. Louis Obervarenbrock goes to Manchester City. These are all players that dropped off that top potential. Jorge Ramon, massive loss on the player. Just under £10 million loss going to Inter Milan. I spent so much on him because when do you see a maximum potential at Andorran? Very rare. Generoso Koshia goes to Chelsea for 7.5 million. Slight loss. I spent 10 million on him. Jean-Paul Unyavedi sold for the exact same that I purchased him for, 7.5 million. Daniel Lima goes to Chelsea, 6.5 million. Profits. Actually, when I sold him, he was maximum potential, but through last season, he hardly was hitting that maximum potential. Like, obviously, they vary through the season, and he wasn't one that was going up to that limit at all. So, not for me. I'm not getting fooled by that. I'll take the profits. And if Daniel Lima wants to prove me wrong, go ahead, but I don't think he will. Augusto Cesar, I think, was 4.5 star when I sold him. Bit of profit there. Yeah, nearly double my money. Jesse Ruiz goes to Chelsea. Big loss. We're all right. Although, like, you don't want to lose your profits, don't want to lose like money when selling players on. I also knew that every single little bit that I could take from these sales would go to those three. So even though like they weren't in our plans anymore, someone like Sreko Milicevic, the 3 million that we collected from his sale will help us out in the future. Of course it will. Yeah, so he went to Porto for 3 million. Ariel Leone went to Paris Saint-Germain. Little loss there, but I'm sure there is some kind of profit of next sale. Pretty sure we'll be able to sell that. Talking about clauses, we did sell the Gottesman clause as well. So it was more than 173 million coming back in. That Gottesman clause, 10 million plus easily. Francisco Noguera goes to Napoli, and so does Jakub Ladecki. So 5 million for two of our players. Thank you, Napoli. Ronald Lennis, third choice goalkeeper at the time. Didn't see any first team football, I don't think. Let's just give that a check. Vasas 2. Yeah, he didn't play for our first team. 2.5 million to Arsenal. Fine. Nicola Thomas, I think we could have got a little bit more for him, to be honest. Pretty sure there is some kind of clause in there. Peter van Dungan. I'm trying to get as many clauses as I possibly can in and around these transfers. Just help me out, like, in the future, you know. Because I can always sell them on eventually. Look at that list. Cool. Yeah, Peter van Dungan goes really cheap to Manchester City. At that price, I don't even think I sold him. Surely at that price. That looks like a free to me. But I remember selling him. 240k. There's got to be a clause in that. There has to be. 30% of profit. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, he's 9.75 million now, so if he gets sold, that's massive profits, and 30% goes to me. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Cool. Part exchange, David Tavares Fernandez talked about it. A free in Nontas Theos goes to Ferenc Varos, and then all of these are loans, so we don't really need to go through them. Although, should be said, Vitor Benito might be going soon. He's 4 stars potential, I think. Yeah, some of these loans are for developing players like Nicola Prelich. We need to get the Dungan face pack updated. Cool. Yeah, so Nilton, Miklos Kish, Oliver Kalala, Iore, Brian Irigoyen, all going out on loan alongside Vitor Benito, and Nicola Prelich. Cool. Finally got there. A lot of work. It was a lot of work. 3 hours, 4 hours. When did I do the Champions League final? Yeah, we're probably talking about 4 hours here. Yeah. All right. It's cool. I'm good. Now I've got something to hold on to. We've lost a big player. We've lost the Champions League final. We have gained some really good signings. Tell you what would be nice. If we could beat Real Madrid. Where's our strikers? Takachuk, slightly tired. Henkes is not going to be on the right. Got really players of my team. I mean, we know how intensive this is. This is a very extreme pressing team. We should probably expect more fitness from these players. Is our fitness coaching up to... I mean, we probably should be looking at the fitness coaching now. Check if that's all right, to be honest. Or physios? We even... Oh, you know, that's actually a thing. Have we done any improvements to the physios for a bit? We've definitely done major investments into the coaching. Oh, my goodness. I want to see the coaching. Sure for me. Look at the state of that. Yeah, I think it's... okay. All right. I see now. It's the physios. That's on me again. Okay. Get more physios in straight away then. As soon as we get finished with this, we'll crack on with the physios. Yeah, I think it's going to have to be Gonçalvo to start. He's a Barcelona like lad. He'll thrive hopefully against Real Madrid. It's turned tough now that Takachuk's out. We'll get him in half time, I think. Erdegaard. Whips it in for Isaac Kang. Not the best of starts there for Vasas, really, is it? Getting stuck back in our place. Isaac Kang. English? Train at United. Jamaican English. Chose England. Oh, here we go. Sepulveda. Back in it. Back in it. Hitting the crossbar. Okay. Let's get that encouragement out. Nothing's lost just yet. Let's be honest, losing this game really does put us in a pretty hairy position. Like, drawing against Hertha Berlin, then losing here. 1 point out of possible 6 to start the Champions League group. It doesn't bode well. Oh, and they've got Noah Cowrell, of course they have. Great save, Questa. I forgot that they got Noah Carroll. Half time. We got into it 1-0 down. We pause that and get Takachuk in. Rodriguez is also he's on that yellow, slightly tired. I think Petrovicius. More of an all-round midfielder. Whereas Heinke's defensively sound. Encouragement. You want some encouragement. I mean, XG is pretty good. More shots, more XG now. Come on. Where's the action? After all that, I mean, what can I really say? Like, it is Real Madrid at the end of the day. More, please. It's not happening. We're picking some really atrocious games, aren't we? That right there has just resigned us to second place. Like, we're not going to win the group stage now, and that even second place might be a fight. So if we get to the last game of the group stage and somehow we're fighting for our life to finish second, we're going to have to be here recording another episode. Hopefully that's not the case, and we can talk about what we got in the knockout rounds and what we've done in January transfer window and how good the players that we've signed up actually are. Damn, that's devastating. Everything's so devastating at the moment. Ay. I guess 1-0, wingers were terrible. Like, wingers, one's not a winger. The other one's trying to learn how to be a winger. The first 45 minutes, we did concede a goal, but we didn't look out. We didn't look out of it, I guess. Second half, as we got an actual winger on, we didn't concede then. Gonçalvo's got a bruised shin. I don't know, man. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I've been thinking about this game too much. Rangers beat Hertha Berlin by 3-1. We need to find our feet. We need to start hitting the ground running, or else we get knocked out. Hey, look. In the OTP Bank League, we're flying. We're nearly double the points of the next team already after 7 games. It's pretty boring to be a Hungarian fan at this point, I think. Yeah, it's been 30 minutes. We've recorded for 30 minutes. It's been a long one. It's been a long night. I'm going to go to sleep. Oh, before I go, there's a lot of players, because of that kind of workaround with the set transfer fee. Let me show you. Transfer. Yeah, the asking price. So the workaround is to set the asking price at 0 and then reject all offers if people are getting a bit agitated, wanting to get to bigger clubs. There was a lot of those players that were happy to stay after one of the windows shut. Presumably it was the summer one. And we're waiting on about 4 players, maybe even 5, to sign new contracts, including Cuesta, who does sign a new contract. 16k per week. For that kind of goalkeeper. Don't mind if I do. That was a long one. See you next time.